SOC Radio welcomes you to Myths and Legends with Janette Jade, psychic medium and her guests, sharing ghostly experiences, tales of the unexpected and paranormal. Join us now if you dare.
Hi Jeanette, how are you doing?
Good, good. Been a long, been quite a few weeks since we spoke to you on the show last.
It has, yes. It's been interesting listening to other people's stories and what they go through, you know.
There's some different experiences going on in everybody's life. I was just thinking about that this morning in regards to, I suppose, my journey as a psychic medium slash healer. I just feel like I always sit back and listen to other people's experiences and other people's thoughts on what a medium is, what a psychic is, what a healer is, and it's always interesting on everybody's thought processes on how words that other people have lost for words. Yeah, and how works, universal energies and psychic energies and how they actually work. And I don't know, like sometimes you have people that feel sort of standard way, others that are quite free in their thinking and what they allow to come through spiritually.
Yeah, it's been clumped together for so long. Most people, when you hear the word psychic, automatically think, oh, you could talk to the dead. They don't realise that there's a difference between the psychic and the medium.
Jenny, come on in, Richard. Everyone's heard that one. It's the latest scary story ever. Does anyone else have a story? One that's actually true? I know it says Samantha. About 10-minute hike from here, this old broken down house. We pass some way up here. There's our corner there, tucked away After a while, Samantha spotted something half buried in the dirt. It was some sort of book. She dug it out and dusted it off. The girls gathered around, and as she opened it and began to flip through the yellow pages, "It's like a diary or something." "Maybe it's his diary." "Whose diary?" "The guy," said Jenny. "The guy that killed his family." Samantha read the diary aloud as the others listened. "There's a dedication inscribed inside the cover," and she said, it reads, "To my family who I love and cherish and who always be with me. September the 5th, 1987 has been hard being alone. All they had to do was talk to me. They could not talk to me. I hear their voices late at night sometimes. I hear their screams. It is cold and dark. I need love. They did not love me. The medicines are gone. I am free, free from them all. If they could not love me, they had to go. Dark sleep for everybody. I hear their voices still, always screaming." December the 4th, 1987. "They have stopped looking for me. It is okay for me now. I live in the forest. I chase down the animals and put them in dark sleep, just like Mum and Dad and Sis. I visit my old house at night. I listen to the voices. At least they talk to me now." October 3rd, 1995. "I left the forest years ago and moved to a small town nearby. Nobody recognizes me. No one knows who I am. I hear people telling my story sometimes. It makes me laugh inside. They all fear me. I still come to the forest sometimes. I spend the nights in my old house. Mum and Dad still talk to me. They say they are very proud of me." November the 2nd, 1998. "Life has been good. I found a job, I bought a house, I met a girl. She's very quiet and pretty. Sometimes I bring her to the forest. She likes it. I let Mum and Dad see her. They like her." July the 1st, 2000. "Today is a great day. I bought another cabin for my family. It's close to the one, so I can still visit my parents. I have a baby now. I'm so happy. Mum and Dad are grandparents. My wife isn't doing so well. It was hard for her. She might not make it. Maybe she'll go into the dark sleep. I'm happy now." August 13th, 2010. "I am so proud of my child. She is just like me, except she's much smarter. She has no problems. She doesn't hear the voices. She goes to school and has lots of friends. Not like me. Sometimes I take her to the woods. I love her so much. I named her after the lake. Samantha." For a few moments Samantha stopped reading. There was a stunned silence. "What the heck?" cried Jenny. "Samantha, is that some sort of joke?" Amber asked nervously. "It isn't funny." This can't be true," Samantha whispered. "It couldn't possibly." Just then they heard the sound of twigs snapping behind them. They turned around and they saw Samantha's father standing there. There was a strange, pained look on his face, and he was holding an axe in his hands. "You weren't supposed to find that," he muttered. "There's no other way now. Dark sleep for everyone." "No, Dad!" screamed Samantha. "No, no, no, no!" When Samantha's father had finished chopping up the bodies, he put the pieces in a large plastic bag and buried them deep in the woods, so deep that no one would ever find them. Now they could be together forever. "I'll watch over you now," he mumbled as he patted down the earth with his shovel. "You may not understand now, but you will in time. This is the only way for us to be together. Dark sleep forever." We all stay together in the cabin on the woods. There you go. Have I put anyone to sleep yet?
No, you've got me scared shitless. I'm not going anywhere again.
Anybody going to the cabin this weekend?
Oh, that is a scary tale. That is definitely one for around the campfire. And hope you never get anybody called Samantha there. I have got to apologise there, Janette. We did have some server issues right through the first 30 minutes of the show, but they're now fixed. So
very good.
I do apologise. Yes, the server wasn't switched over totally, so we're doing half going out and half not. There you go.
There you go. That was a good story.
Just
Keep
yeah,
everyone
well,
on the edge of their seats.
Well, it got them all in just when you were given the nasty bit. Ooh.
I was thinking, am I reading a murder story or a horror story? I think it was a combination of all sorts there.
A bit of everything there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
But how many times have you been told, the scout leaders telling their scout group ghost stories by the campfire and all this, It's the original. It's the start of the original ghost stories, isn't it? It's where they all come
It
from.
is.
Trying to scare the life out of each other. Ooh.
Well, I actually did that to one of my girlfriends as a teenager because we used to like to stay out and watch all the horror stories on our old black and white TVs and scare yourself to pieces. And my family.
Tough question about it. We hate being scared.
But we like to do it.
But how many times do you sit and watch a horror movie knowing that you're going to be hiding behind your cushion or your pillow or jump behind the couch before it's over?
Or look between your fingers like I do.
Yeah, and you don't go to sleep afterwards because of the nightmares,
Oh, I did that till we had my grandfather's, he lived sort of near a beach and he had like a little batch home, and when he passed away it became somewhere for us to go and stay over the holidays. And we used to put the pup tents at the backyard. If you know what a pup tent is, it's a small tent. And my girlfriend, who I'm still friends with now nearly 40 years later, and she was good to stir up. She was the one that got me into the horror. And I remember she was in the tent and I just pretended to go to the toilet and I picked up the wood axe and sort of stood because it was a full moon and so that the picture would come through and she could see my shadow, had her screaming the whole place down.
Yeah, no. Too many. Put it this way, I think it was because I was brought up with spooky stories instead of nursery rhymes that it's never really bothered me, And I've got this, what we call, many people call a BS meter, and when I get told all these horror stories and the ones that are just too far out there, my BS meter goes off and I just switch off, There's not many of these ghosty films or the horror films that actually get me scared. I'm more sitting there pulling it apart thinking, that just doesn't work. Or, oh, come on, keep it real, because they just can't. Put it this way, for the human mind to come up with such amazing things and beautiful stories and fantastic artwork and music, I suppose it's for everything good there's got to be something darker, or everything's got an opposite.
Balance.
For us to be able to come up with such amazing things in life, to these films, Edward Scissorhands and all that. I'm in there in the background thinking, I'm worried about the guy who wrote his mind to be able to sit and write all these stories about people getting cut up in ribbons and and what must their mind be like to write them stories and put them down on paper and think anybody's going to enjoy them,
But and even like
people do.
Well, yeah, but I think it's where people have the freedom of expression, because it's like, for instance, if it's put in a film, they're in the background, they've just written that and there you go, and give it to somebody else to do the rest of it with. And the mind's an amazing thing as to how far you can take. I mean, a bit like last week, my mind has kept going on, not on that side of it, but just sort of, it's just forever. If you allow your mind just to keep going, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily always a good thing. If it makes you millions of bucks, it might be, but it's sort of like being able to sort of, I suppose, feel yourself in a safe environment where you can actually express the questions that come up. I mean, what's that movie that it was an Australian one, and it was done such on a low budget, but it was just, I'll have to think about that one. But it's just, where do people come up with these ideas?
Yeah, I mean, there's enough in life to scare us as it is,
Let alone your mind.
let alone, thinking up horror stories,
Mm.
I mean, and that's what puts a lot of people off dealing with
Yes.
your psychic and dealing with your mediumship. Go no further than one of my father's experiences that really switched him off early in life. I mean, he was a natural psychic and medium, but he switched it off. It scared the life out of him. And for years in his life, he denied it, poo-pooed it, called us the woo-woo people and all this,
Mm.
But early in his life, he was a pitman, worked down the pits in northeast England, and he was a motorbike guy. So he was off on his motorbike off to work, and you know what it's like. They did all kinds of different 12-hour shifts and worked hours, weird, ungodly hours, and all this, So he was either coming home or going to work. I can't remember which way it was on his motorbike, but it was something like 3 o'clock in the morning. And as he's on this long, lonely road on the back of Thornley between Thornley and Bowburn, I think it was, and he sees a lady wandering the road in a lovely evening gown. And being my dad as he was back then, he pulled up. He says, "Can't have you stand walking the roads at this hour. Where do you belong?" She says, "Oh, so and so, Bowburn." "Oh, well, come on, jump on the back. I'll give you a ride." And he feels her get on the bike, feels her put her arms around him, steady herself, get her feet on the pedals and everything, sets her way off home. She directs him all the way home. He feels her get off the bike when he pulls up at this old house, and he says, "Hold on, I'll come and knock at the door. Your parents are going to be mad at this hour." And the story was that a partner had dumped her the night of the ball and left her in the middle of the road. So he says, "I'll come and knock and make sure your parents are alright, So he gets off the bike, goes and opens the garden gate, walks her through it and all this, goes up to the front door and knocks on the door. Little old lady comes to the door. "Oh, so what can I help you for?" "Oh, well, I've just brought your daughter home. I've picked her up on the back of the road. Afraid her boyfriend and her had her round. He kicked her out the car. So I couldn't leave there. I brought her home." And he turns round, and there's nobody there. And the old lady shouts of her husband down the stairs, and she says, "Son, I think you better come in and have a cup of tea."
Oh gosh.
And she takes them in to have a cup of tea, and by this time my father's going, "What the hell's going off?" White as a sheet. And she proceeds to tell him that her daughter had been killed on that road many years before, and they'd often heard the story of a woman wandering the roads in the middle of the night, and she thanked my dad because he was the first one that brought her home.
Oh wow, that's amazing, isn't it?
And that one freaked my dad out. He was that close, touching, feeling, sensing, talking to her, and she didn't exist. She'd been killed years beforehand.
Yeah, wow.
And that one really switched my dad off. He said, "Nope, not doing it." I mean, my dad would know things. He had premonitions. He would drive somewhere that he'd never ever been before, be able to tell you the whole layout of the place, tell you exactly what's off in town, what's happening, what's all this. And, we'd often go around doing different shows, tropical fish shows, and we'd go to this brand new town, and he'd say, "Oh, round here on the left, on the right hand corner there, there's a tropical fish shop. I'm going to come back there and buy a fish tomorrow." As it was, we ended up buying something else, but yeah, he did. He went back the next day and bought a fish from that shop, because the day we were there it was Sunday and the tropical fish shop was closed.
Gosh.
Things like events, he knew things were going to happen before they did, and it scared the life out of him, and he switched it off. He mentally and physically switched it all off because it scared him. He didn't understand it, and it wasn't till later on in life that he started coming to the spirituals church with my mum and myself, and especially when it got to the point where he couldn't nip round the corner to somebody's for a cup of coffee instead, and he had to sit and wait in church with us. that he started talking about it, and then the last few visits that he was there, he ended up actually giving messages.
Wow.
Which he never dreamt he would do, you know.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of thing. I mean, we drum it out of kids from day one. Don't tell us, you know, there's no bogeymen. Go to bed before the bogeyman gets you, and then we complain when they have nightmares, you know.
Yes.
And we drum it out of them that there's nothing otherworldly or things. If you can't see it, feel it, touch it in this physical world, it doesn't exist. Crap, you know.
Yeah. And I had my daughter come out to me last night, and because I've not dissuaded it. It's sort of like we've sort of talked about it when she has experiences like that in her own room. And last night she goes, "Mum, my wardrobe door keeps opening and closing all the time." And at least, and she said, "Oh, yeah," she says, "I don't know why it just keeps opening and then closing, opening and closing." So she actually had a very disturbed sleep last night. So we'll have to have a chat about it when she gets home from school today. She went to school pretty tired, I think. But
you need to go in that room and talk to who's there and find out why they're disturbing and why they're there, and deal with it so she can get a decent night's sleep tonight. What we might do is give me a shout later on tonight, and we'll do that. We'll do that while your daughter, because your daughter's got to understand as well that it's nothing to be scared of.
Oh no, she's not. She wasn't scared at all.
Yeah, and that she can, you know, just turn around and say, "Right, I know you're there, but I'm sorry, it's 3 o'clock. It's time for me to go to sleep. Leave me alone."
Yes.
You know, so she can tell them where to go.
That's really bizarre too, because it's I was actually dreaming of her, and it was like I was there, but in my dream I knew that I wasn't there, if you know what I mean, and I was actually just checking in on her while she was sleeping and giving her a kiss. Maybe it was me.
I'm sorry, it's your fault.
Well, that was before then. That was
Excuse me. Spirit travel, my dear. Projecting your spirit. You're looking after your girl. Your girl is sensing you, and while you're stood there looking at your girl, you're folding all the clothes away and putting them in the bloody wardrobe. How weird!
It was before she went to bed. I was watching TV. That was the dream. That was early hours of this morning that I was doing that, giving her a kiss.
And the early hours of the morning when she can't sleep is because you're spirit projecting, you're astral travelling, checking on your daughter
her
in her room. And while you're there, you're throwing all the clothes in the wardrobe.
Probably need to.
That is an actual physical ability, and it is quite possible that in your concern for your daughter that you're actually visiting. We've done it, you know. We've all had those dreams where we've visited somewhere, and when we've come back we can still feel it, still sense it, still smell it, and it seems so real. Lucid dreaming, all that. That's what I call spirit travel dreams, when you literally do leave your body and your spirit goes and visits the place or the person or the building, or the, you know, I can go away on holiday in 30 seconds just by projecting my image and my thoughts as to where I want to be, and I can be in that place, you know. It just doesn't have the same effect as actually going there, but it saves you the 13-hour flights, you know.
Now, the other test would be to bring back a souvenir.
That's been done as well.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Right, I've got one for you here. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my voice back. Which is one place I would love to do it, whether it's astral travel or actually going there. And the sad part is I used to, of course I'm British, I live in the UK, and I never knew about this place. But this place is called Lawyers, Scotland. And now it's only a very bare ruins of an old village of lawyers in Scotland. And the site's been put up for sale more times than enough. But the offer comes with a warning. The village has allegedly been cursed by the Lady of Lawyers. That doesn't mean that she's a lady of a firm of lawyers, it's the lady of the town called Lawyers. Wrap your head around that one. Right, okay.
Understand that one now.
Yeah. The lady who was a soothsayer, or in her day was a psychic or a medium or whatever, but in her day they were called soothsayers, from way back in the 17th century. reportedly she cursed an ash tree. Why she cursed the ash tree, I don't know. It doesn't tell you any reasons. But for some reason she cursed an ash tree. And she was later to be buried by that very tree. A farmer by the name of John Campbell, who cut down the cursed tree in 1895, was later gored by his own bull and died of his injuries. And a neighbour who tried to help him later went insane and was taken to a mental institution. Believe it or not, the horse that actually was used to drag away the cursed tree also died without apparent cause. Sightings of a female ghost continue at this site to this day, and a lot of visitors are convinced it's the Lady of Lawyers, still wandering, searching for her lost ghost at a cursed tree. So what the town of Lawyers did to this lady to make her so livid as to curse the whole place, but you've got to think, okay, in a town or a village like that you have various weird deaths, but everybody concerned with destroying that tree later died weird and unknown deaths.
Oh, that's interesting, because that was a very similar story to what I read last week. Different story altogether.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing, because it was about a tree as well.
Oh, there you
And
go.
not, yeah. So it's attachments, isn't it? In a lot of sense, sort of, she's attached to her tree.
Oh, she was so attached to her beloved town, something had really upset her that had gone off her. Probably back in those days she was classed as the witch of the time, or the strange lady, and she got her own back on the town, and used her abilities to curse the town. But there you go, weird things go off in weird places.
And it's a bit like the Chinese, is it Chinese Whispers, how in this story where it starts off with, and how much it can grow as well with putting extra bits and pieces in these myths, legends and stuff like that. And
well, look at all the Egyptian tombs, again, you break it there. Over the years people have broken into the tombs, opened them up, ransacked them, because when you think about it, it might seem great to archaeologists and all this to open up an old tomb, find what's in there, take the sarcophagus out and all this, but it is actually grave robbing no matter how you see it. And for any curse they spend years deciphering all those signs and writings on the walls, etc., to find out that there's a curse, and it only takes one person to fall down a flight of steps into the tomb, or die of a weird disease that opening that tomb is again released, and then you've got generations and generations of ghost stories.
You do. I love what is it in England, going to talking about the tombs and things, is it the London Museum? In it, they've got all. I know. I'm just trying to think which one I went to. So I was 18, so it's quite a long time ago. And they had all the mummies, and they have Tutankhamun and all that. So like now that I'm more aware of the spirit world, I would love to actually go back there and revisit those mummified beings. And there was so many I still remember them. I'd just love to go into there and feel if you can pick up anything within the mummies that are there. I don't know if you've done that or anybody else has done that, but what sort of experience do you get spiritually, or if you pick up any of their anything from any of the mummies that are there?
I'm terrible for what we call psychometry, which is touching an event, touching an object or a personal belonging, and getting images, impressions, stories from the events, because again it's vibrations, and the images that are connected to those items.
Right.
And I can remember going to York Railway Museum years ago on a school visit. Oh, he's brought them back now. And it never dawned on me. You've got all these old trains and all the old equipment that the train building used to use to when they first brought out the steam engines. You know, you've got they had the I think it was the Flying Scotsman was there at the time, and all this, you know. And touching items like that, you literally get flashbacks
Wow.
of those times that were as they were played out in through the images from these items, you know. It's like when a person comes to a reading with me, and they'll bring a ring or a necklace or a brooch or a photograph, and I'll hold it, and half of the reading and the connection is brought through because of the energy linked to that item. And it's the same when, yes, you're touching to historical items, that you can get those images, readings and messages back, or see the whole event played out again in your mind. Like a vision, like a film, you know, or like a dream, it gets played out again, and you can see what happened or the situation that those events or those items were in. It's really fascinating to be able to do it.
Yes.
You know, there was one, I'm trying to remember where it was, whether it was back in England or whether it was when I first came to New Zealand. A lady brought me a really antique old necklace that was so fragile you didn't dare hold it for too long because I thought it was going to snap, you know.
Snap, yeah.
And she gave me that necklace, and I literally went back and saw this woman's face wearing this necklace at a debutante ball, when the ladies were presented as they came of age, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And
yes.
this necklace had gone through generation after generation, and I went right through from the debutante type of lady being presented to society through to go through a few generations, and the mother passing it to the daughter. I even got the one where it was a grandmother who passed it to a granddaughter because the mother had passed away.
Right.
So the mother wasn't there to be able to, at the time, to pass
receive
it to her daughter. So it gave me this whole history of the item and of the family linked to it, you know, and how the lady who brought it to me came to have it because it'd been long forgotten in her mother's possessions. And I said to her, well, this time it wasn't passed down physically. Your mother held on to it, and it was lost in a box and found in her belongings after her passing, to the point that you maybe thought she'd been buried with it, you know.
Okay.
So, and she was quite fascinated that's how I found out where she got it from. It was locked in a box in a cupboard that had long been
Incredible.
forgotten, you know.
Incredible. But I just think it's amazing when people have the ability to be so detailed with things like pieces of jewellery, photos. I mean, I've done some of it. Sometimes I can pick up really well, other times not so well, but now I've got it in my head now talking about mummies is what it would be like if you actually touched a mummy and what you would get from that, especially if you're very intuitive and very your ability is really strong in the psychometry of things, but actually touching.
Yeah.
I know it sounds
Well,
a bit morbid, but touching a mummy.
You've also got to think about things like that, and especially the old ones that have been in museums for years and years. So many people touched them in the meantime.
Yes.
And all the research and the tests and that. A lot of the energy is waned, you know.
Probably, yeah.
Sometimes, think about it, how many times can you play a CD or the old tapes?
Yes.
Before
yes,
they wane.
wear out.
I had one tape that had one song on that I played over and over and over and over and over and over again. Absolutely loved it. Hated the rest of the tape, but played this one song, and you could tell when I went back to it each time, and years later when I put the tape on again and found it, that one song was barely inaudible because it had been played so many times.
So many
The
times.
rest of the time was still pristine, you know.
Yes.
So items do lose that connection. and it's got to be a really strong thing that will last through. And especially things like that that's being passed from museum to museum, that have done more and more tests.
That's
and,
true.
And they X-ray inside things nowadays to see what's inside them, and all that takes away from the energy and the ability to
And they're not
with it.
Yeah. And the energy of where they were actually exhumed from too is no longer with them as well. But if they were but to be able to find one without being in a museum, if they were excavating or anything, that would just be an amazing thing to know of anyone who has, or be able to have that ability to read into that person's story that way. So, that's all very interesting. That it's just never ending as to where you can actually pick things up from. People read trees, people read plants and pieces of jewelry, photos, something like even a cardigan, or it's just incredible, and it's all the energy that's provided and within that object. It's quite it's not the possibilities, it's just endless really, and hearing more and more people's stories. That's why I encourage anybody to ring up if you've got any similar stories. Call us on Skype, Circle of Mediums. Jump on and share your stories with us. I'd love to hear more stories. It's just like never ending. It's like the stars in the universe. There's just so many stories to tell, and there's so many experiences everyone's had. And I feel like even just listening today, I'm learning and opening my mind up even more to lovely Julie. So jump on, or else jump on our chat room, spiritualistonline.com, and register and join in our chat room there. There's quite a few people on there this morning, so we'd love to. So we're going to pop to break now. So call in, if you can call in, jump on our chat room, and we'll speak to everybody after the break with more stories. See you soon.
We will be right back with more from Myths and Legends. Don't go anywhere. Don't miss out on the next scary tale coming up after a short break. Astrology Chat with Chrissy Lincoln, Psychological Body and Spirit. Monthly chat show, last Tuesday of the month, 1 to 3 p.m. New Zealand time. Beyond the Veil with Terry Oz. Check it out first Monday, monthly, 2 p.m. UK time. Terry shares her experiences and love of spiritual communication with those from beyond the veil. Join us live in the SOC radio chat room on spiritualistonline.com, or simply listen in at tunein.com and search for SOC Radio. The Circle of Mediums radio show. 6 mediums, healers, psychics, tarot, astrologers, spiritual workers every week, sharing spirit messages, development techniques, guidance and much more. Live in the SOC radio chat room on spiritualistonline.com, or simply listen in at tunein.com. Search SOC Radio. Would you like to contribute readings, thoughts, teachings and time to this 2-hour show? Get in touch at socradioshows@gmail.com. Advertise with SOC Radio. 10, 15, 20 or 30-second jingles, adverts or promotions, all going out live on SOC Radio. Promote your services, churches, groups or events at the best rates online. Work with us on shows or promotion and you could get your jingles absolutely free. For this and more, contact Julie at socradioshows@gmail.com. Spiritualistonline.com. Online since 2002, teaching all aspects of personal and spiritual development. Free to all with audio video chat rooms, members forums and SOC radio live shows on site. The Spiritualist Online Network and Lyceum, a global oasis for spiritual awareness, development, attainment, imparting knowledge, thoughts, ideas to inspire. One site, linking a whole network of spiritually informative, educational and interactive services, encompassing every faith, path, walk, religion as one. Premium membership on spiritualistonline.com. Join our teaching lyceum, classes and courses to certificate and diploma levels. It's an option, not an obligation. Still only £30 per year for unlimited seminars, guest sessions, members' moments, voice members included on radio chats and TV shows, full certificate courses and qualifications, members' promotions of sites, books and services, discounts on SOC services, one-on-one teaching, private classes, members-only Facebook. Upgrade your membership today. Joint family group options. See spiritualistsonline.com. Sounds Like Spirit with Kim Melholt. Sound advice for spiritual souls. For all your development and spiritual chat, join Kim weekly at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Wednesdays, New Zealand time, 9 p.m. Tuesdays, UK time. Live in the SOC radio chat room on spiritualistsonline.com, or simply tune in at tunein.com and search for SOC Radio. Welcome back. Are you sitting comfortably? Then we will continue with more scary stories, experiences and messages from realms yet to be explained.
Welcome back to Myths and Legends. I'm Janette Jade, Psychic Medium. Find me on Facebook, Janette Jade, Psychic Medium. We'd love to hear from anybody who'd like to call in and share some of your spooky tales, your experiences, your thoughts on what we've been talking about. Give us a call on Skype, which is a free call, Circle of Mediums, and join in. Or else you can jump onto the internet, which is onto spiritualistsonline.com, register and join in our chat room, where you can join in and post up your story. If you've got a story, we'll read it off the chat room, and we might have some pictures to put up today with some of the stories that we're getting off our Facebook page that we get our stories from, which is GPSML, and that stands for Ghost, the Paranormal, Supernatural, Myth and Legends. Find them on www.facebook.com/groups/GPSML. And we have Julie in the room with us today. Welcome back from the break, Julie.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. We've got some stories. I think we might start off with a story.
Okie dokie, do you want to do one or shall I?
I'll do one. How about that? I've got a couple of short ones here. I actually didn't get the person's name. Let's pop this up. Quite possibly Paul, who normally puts them up. And it's called Seventh Barn. It's a very short story, this. A wealthy farmer had owned a lot of land and built a new barn on his property every time his wife had a baby. He named each barn after each of his kids, and by the time this story takes place, they had 6 kids and were expecting number 7. But the farmer's wife died in childbirth, and so did the unborn baby. The farmer went out insane with grief. They say the farmer, in his madness, took an axe one night and led his children out to the barns. One by one, he murdered them all. He buried their bodies in the 7th barn. This was in the 7th barn that the farmer hung himself. Eventually, as the story goes, all the barns were torn down and the land was sold off, all except for number 7. Nobody would buy the land because of what had happened there. It was abandoned and soon fell into disrepair. No one was ever really sure where the 7th barn was located. It was definitely in Ohio, excuse me. In 1997, in Ohio, teacher claimed that he had found the infamous barn's real location. The teacher pinpointed the location because the barns on the neighbouring properties all had nameplates on their door with names of children engraved on them. The teacher and his son set out at night to visit the barn, hoping to capture some paranormal activity on the video. The next morning, the teacher's wife reported her husband and son missing. Police found the abandoned car by the roadside. While searching the area, they entered the barn and in a nearby field and found the dead bodies of the teacher and his son hanging from the rafters. So it's obviously the barn was nowhere to be found by most people, but obviously this teacher and his son found. So there's a bit something weird going on in that barn.
Definitely weird.
Yeah, that was actually quite hard to read because it's all black background. That was quite interesting. But
Yeah, I've
we
got
do have
one.
You've got another one?
Yeah, this is a personal story shared by Tyler on the GPSML Facebook page, and it is his personal ghost experience as he explains it. He says, my parents, 2 sisters and he lived in a 3-bedroom apartment in Springfield, Illinois. He says it was nice and spacious, yet there was some tragedy to start this story off. There was a maintenance man who lived across the street in another apartment complex, and he did all the routine maintenance around every apartment unit, but didn't dress the part. He always wore a nice brown suit. He was very friendly, but sadly, somewhere along the line he committed suicide. And about a week after his suicide, Tyler's unit started having strange noises, bumps in the night. His sisters and he would hear sounds coming from the kitchen. Footsteps, pots and pans moving around, and the sink turning on. This happened for at least a month. Along with these noises, there would always be the feeling of being watched while trying to sleep. It was like a blanket of discomfort over them. I love the way he describes that. So one morning he says he got up for school and his sisters were across the street visiting an aunt and uncle in their unit. There were 2 apartment buildings, 3 stories tall, with about 12 units in each building, right across the street from one another. So he's home alone, no big deal, just start getting dressed and getting ready. He puts on a pair of jeans and looks around for a t-shirt, and remembered he'd left his clothes out the night before, but forgot where he'd put the t-shirt. So he scans the room and notices a figure in the bedroom doorway. It was a man, broad shoulders and a dark brown suit. Here's the freaky part, he says. He was very wispy, almost like smoke, but all he could see was the clothing. No hands, no face, no arms, nothing. He wore the dark brown suit, with matching brown shoes and a brown bowler hat. I let out a huge gasp, he says, as the man vanished, and I ran out of my room, down the hallway and into the living room. I immediately call up to my sisters and demand that they come over so that I can finish getting dressed. I've got to get to school. I told them what I saw, and they said I looked white and pale. Later on that evening I explained to my mum what I'd seen, and what it was at that moment. It was at that moment that she explained about the maintenance man who'd hung himself just last week across the road. I wasn't so much scared, he says, as I was shocked when I saw him. We moved out about a month later due to my mum's job, and he states this was my first paranormal experience, and it opened up a whole new reality. And he says he has many more experiences to share. Tyler, if you're listening, we'd love to hear your other experiences.
Yes, we would.
And it is something like that that really does open your eyes to the fact that, as he states, a whole new reality actually lives alongside us. From the physical realm to the spiritual realm.
And that's pretty awesome to get that experience as well, I think. Because it's not, even though there's millions of people around the world who have that ability, it's sort of quite often you hear, oh, how come I can't see things like that? And I think it's such a neat, his energy must be really receptive as well to be seen forms.
Well, like I say, young kids, we will always say, we'll look at young babies and say they've been here before. They seem to have knowledge about them, and a way that tells us that they've got knowledge that we've lost, and then they lose it later on. And if family tragedy or family stress comes about, then the young teenagers and young kids are the first to open up to spirit again and to the energies. And I love it because their innocence, they will just talk about it. They just think it's normal, unless you, of course, you try it and someone tells you to show up, and then you you shut it out and you don't tell anybody because you feel like you're being cut off or you're being chastised for telling lies, that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I always find it interesting with, I don't know, I've got this thing about young babies, and particularly ones that can actually sit up and they're in their pushchairs out and about, and how many times that you see them trying to look around people. Well, I know this is for me, like they're trying to look around people to look at me, and I love that. Like, it's obviously they're seeing something where they sort of like, they don't want to see who's in front of them, they want to look around them. You don't even need to be pulling any faces or being cute to them or anything like that. They just want them. I'd love to know what that sort of connection is there that they're having, because obviously they're aware of something, and that they just get drawn to you through a crowd of people even. Like they just sort of like fix their eyes and then they just acknowledge you.
Yeah.
And I love that. With,
it's all the vibration that links us with people, and why we find people that we are so connected with and resonate with. It's the vibration between us, and it's being able to pick out the one person in the crowd that you do link to, you know. And kids are famous for it, and it's where the phrase "out the mouths of babes" come from, you know. I mean, there's one family story with us. My sister would often wake up as a child laughing and giggling in her sleep, or she'd wake up giggling, and my mother would go into the room and wonder why she's laughing and giggling in her sleep, or when waking up giggling to herself. And she got one night where she sat and watched her giggling in her sleep, and she woke up and talked to her about what she was giggling at. And she basically said, "Oh, it's the man at the end of the bed telling me funny stories with his hands." And she says, "You what?" And she described the old man who used to sit on the end of a bed, and he had faces drawn and socks over his hands, and he'd made little people out of them. You picture your hand curled up into a fist.
Yes.
A loose fist. And he draws a mouth on the thumb and eyes on the top fingers, and he put hair over it and put a sock over it, and tell you funny little stories. And he called them Heckle and Jekyll. And it threw my mother back, because back in Durham, her father, obviously my grandfather, when they got the air raid sirens during wartime, they used to get down into the basement and to keep the kids occupied. My grandfather developed where he drew these little faces on his fist, on his thumb and forefinger, and he put a sock over it, and he put little bits of hair and mop over it to make it look like it, and he called them Heckle and Jekyll, and he told funny stories with them. And here he was years later, keeping her daughter occupied during the night, telling the funny stories with Heckle and Jekyll on his hands. And that was my daughter, my sister.
That's amazing. That's so neat to have that sort of experience going on for children. I'm quite envious listening to your family stories, whereas I had zero of anybody else in my family showing any of that side of things. So no wonder I always felt like the black sheep of the family. I was sort of doing that life on my own. But I was going to say, because like I know my daughter, she used to have a little area in the lounge, and she'd always be talking, and how they're looking up, like there's somebody there, and she'd always be talking to a couple of people, and through the years it's like, oh, there's a man in my room, and or what are you doing looking out the window watching the little girl on the swing? And it's like, well, what little girl? There's no little girl on the swing. But I would go along with it, and so she's obviously got the ability to see more, and I've just got to keep that going, and if she chooses to, which I think she is,
not to poo-poo it, to allow it, like you say, to. And no, you're not humouring them. You're not. You're. They believe it. They trust it. They see it, and it is around us. And it's talking.
And she's always had imagination. Yeah, She's always had imaginary friends,
There you go.
and she'd actually walk around the house introducing them even to us. We
Uh-huh.
always played along with it. We always got introduced to her imaginary friends, and
Oh,
she'd
that's
go
nice.
through and tell them, like, this is the lounge and this is this and this is that. You know, back in I think a lot of families would just poo-poo it and just say, you know, oh, they're just making up things again. Whereas I always
Uh-huh.
believed that the way that she would do it would be in a way that would be if you actually had a person there,
Yeah.
and she would even describe what they look like. I mean, sometimes it got a bit too much because she had a lot of friends, and you would get interrupted all the time. Oh, this is my other friend, and this is my other friend, and it just. I left it to it, but sometimes it was interrupting me too much in what I was doing.
Well, I would have dealt with it
She
the
was-
same as I would have dealt with it if they
Yeah.
brought physical friends around, you know.
Just
Um,
to go
that,
play in the cubby
you know,
house.
Yeah, you know, time to go play, and it might be that you only get ask only one or two friends to come tonight. 'Cause, you know, 5 or 6 is getting a bit much, and
Oh, I
teach her
know.
to talk to them, and it's like we do as mediums. You've got your gatekeeper that only lets them come in one at a time, so you don't get overcrowded. So
Yes.
teach her how, especially now that she's experiencing things in her room. So teach her little things about control, so that she can deal with it one at a time or just a couple, rather than having them swamped with her. You know, this is all the kind of thing that we should be teaching kids throughout their upbringing, because we just don't, and it's one of the things we try and do at Spiritualists Online. If a family member has a child or a young teenager who are seeing spirit or talking to spirit, to be able to teach them control from day one, to be able
Yes.
to turn it off, you know. I mean, my son was seeing spirit at a very young age. I would be sitting doing something, and he would be laughing and carrying on in the room, and I'm saying, well, who are you talking to? Oh, my Uncle David's playing piano in the corner. We didn't have a piano then, and then when you know, later on we did get his piano after he passed, and he would literally be sitting talking to his Uncle David playing the piano in the corner of the living room, you know. So I knew then that my son had the ability that goes through our family. So teaching him how to do it, and I think I told stories on the first show that I was on with you about him talking to his spirit sister. And later on in life, my son chose that it was not for him, that he will talk to his uncle and his sister if he needs to, and whatever, and he still does, but he's not one that wants to develop it. And if he picks it up later in life again, so he had a word with them and said, you know, this is enough for me.
Yes.
And stop the activity and stop the communication, other than talking to his loved ones, you know. So
Yes.
that's what we should be teaching people, and all these kids that have imaginary friends, etc., or are able to go to places and sense things that we can't see. We should be able to teach these kids how to handle it, you know.
Absolutely.
As well as the development of those mediums that are coming forward, you know.
Yes, there's so much to learn, and even myself and my own journey in this is accepting. I think it's really hard, because I know from my point of view it's really hard when you've got family members around you who don't encourage it whatsoever and have their own opinions. I actually I had my stepmother over here from New Zealand yesterday, and we were talking about it, and my father's very, very open to it, whereas my mother's, she'll tell you that she's interested in this stuff, but she's also got her own opinions. And I actually said I think I had to come here to Australia to develop my own path in this mediumship area, because I don't think I could have done it if I'd stayed around my family. So now I feel at home being here, and that I can just keep being me and doing my thing, and not have to worry about that side of things, because I think family does play a big instrument within someone's development, because that's where you get your little self-doubts going on as well, and I'm able to step away from that. And the more that I do that, not to say that I'm stepping away from a family, but the more I step away from it, the more that I allow myself to open and develop and have my experiences as how I want them, without worrying about any of that judgment. And I think that's what I'm passing on to my daughter as well. And my oldest son is very intuitive, but he's a bit like your son, I suppose, and just not want to pursue any of that, but he's very open to the different types of healing and the different types of mediumship and things like that as well. So my first child and my last child
that's what it's about is not everybody has to develop to the point that they're a medium and doing what we do, but to be able to develop for your own ability and your own awareness and knowledge in life. I mean, it can change all your decision making. It can make you it can help you in your direction, your job, your every aspect of life. It can give you awareness and knowledge about. And if you only do it for that, then that's what it's meant for. That's what it's there for.
That's right. That's right.
It is like the difference between always writing the way the first teacher taught you, never moving on to cursive writing, or whether you ever use anything that you learn. I certainly don't learn anything that you use in school again later on. If we don't learn our abilities, how can we learn about ourselves if we don't realise that we can do so much? Why do artists find out in their 40s that they can suddenly write and draw and paint or become a sculptor? Because as a kid they were never taught to find what is their abilities, what their possibilities.
Exactly.
And we keep getting mentioned they've got so much potential.
And then in what?
We drum into them the academic world, but we don't drum into them the physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, creative side of us that can bring out more of our potential than any academic knowledge will do,
Yes. Well, my daughter's got the Witches and Wizards Day at school on Thursday. She's already taken her wand to school today, up her sleeve. And she's very excited. I mean, she is 11 years old, but she's very excited to be doing this sort of thing. She said, "Mum, I can't have that day off school. I've got to go to that school. It's a Witches and Wizards Day." And she's very, very... I love it. And it's...
that's interesting that they will have a Witches and Wizards Day at school, but you talk about going into them and talking about spiritualism and spirit, and they'll say, no, not allowed.
No, they've been doing a lot of Harry Potter sort of stuff as well, so it's... but it's right up her alley. She's been... Actually, it's quite interesting, actually. We've made her own wand with crystals, etc., and some gum tree branch, and she's actually been using that a lot, and she's actually does it on her father as well. Yeah, with her wand, and does things. I don't know what she's doing, whether she's doing her healing or whatever she's doing there, and it's really great that he will sit back and allow her to do her magic. Yeah, but I just think it's the more people.
Magic, as you say, is what is the other person's healing, and it's how she uses it and why she uses it, and she's using it for a good intent. So that's brilliant,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. How about another story? Should we change? We change it from this nice, rosy, lovely feeling to something a bit horrific.
Yeah. Do you want a horror story?
I'm going with. Do we want what sounds good? The Red Cloak or a Pig Lady?
Oh, the ghost town of Delamar, Nevada.
All right, do that then.
Okay, the ghost town of Delamar, Nevada. This is actually a true story. Delamar is an abandoned ghost town in the state of Nevada. Gold was discovered there back in 1889, and prospectors came from all over the state to make their fortunes. Little did they know that the town of Delamar would cause their deaths. The gold in Delamar mines was embedded in quartzite rock. Mining the gold from the quartzite created a dust that the miners called dagger dust, because it was filled with small, sharp particles of rock. The miners didn't know it, but while they worked and breathed in this dust, it was destroying their lungs. Within a few years, of course, all the men of Delamar began to drop dead from lung disease. The dagger dust caused the unfortunate miners to endure a rapid and painful death. The deaths happened so fast that at one time there was said to be a couple of hundred widows living in the small town. Locals began to call the town the Widowmaker. When the townfolk realised what was killing them, They closed the mine and abandoned the town. Now it's filled with eerie ruins, supposedly haunted by the ghosts of miners who died there. Since then, numerous tales of ghostly sightings have been reported from around the ruins. Everyone who enters the town gets a strange feeling they are not welcome there. A biker who was once riding through Del Mar said he felt an unseen force throw him off his motorcycle. People hearing rattling noises coming from among the ruins, and some have had rocks thrown at them by an invisible force. There's a big graveyard on the outskirts of town that has all the headstones of the miners who died there. Many people say they have seen ghostly apparitions of the old miners standing by the headstones, staring angrily at them and pointing to the only road out of town, as if to say, "Get out of my town."
Ooh.
Or is it, "Get out of town before it kills you"? Interesting. Something natural, the greed of men looking for gold and didn't realise that in doing that it killed them, and then being cursed to live forever, or or forever protecting people who come again to maybe reopen the mines and trying to protect people and keep them away from that town. Amazing, eh?
It is. I think that I don't know if I would want rocks thrown at me though.
Well, they say think of it both ways. They're throwing rocks at you. They're haunting the place. They're scaring people off. It's think of it as most people would see it as them being cursed and being to forever haunt those places because they died there. But turn it around. They're protecting the people who go there, and by scaring them off or saying, "Oh, you get out of town," they're actually protecting them from the very thing that killed them. So are they haunting the place,
or
are they protecting the people who go there? That
is an interesting thing when you turn it around like that.
Well, of course, poltergeists. Okay. Poltergeists. People hate poltergeists who throw things around and move furniture. There's always a reason.
Yeah.
Now, are they telling you they had a bad time in that house and they're trying to protect them, or that they were abused in that house and they were murdered in that house, and they think that if you stay there, you're going to go the same way? Or are they just viciously manipulating things to keep the house to themselves? There's always two sides to a story, but when it comes to spirit activity, most people are on the side of they're out there to hurt you, to harm you, to kill you, to drive you away from a place. When you get back into it, there's a reason why.
Yes, it's a matter of just tapping in there, going that little bit further and actually finding out why.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's very interesting flip on a story, because most of us would have... Most of us would look at it one way, and thank you for putting it in the other way, because I wouldn't have thought of it that way. And I don't know. I haven't been around any of those sorts of experiences. Oh well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe mine are just a bit too kind. The ones that I get, like hiding. I had this pair of scissors, and they fold. You know how they're just little ones. I use them for when I'm doing crochet or something, and they fold into each other, and they've got little intricate details on them. And someone borrowed them, and then the person who borrowed them lost them, and we couldn't find them. And I've got this little box where I keep my hooks and things in. And seriously, I've been in there so many times, never seen it. Months and months later, I went by, and they just appeared in this box. So those are the only sort of things that I get around here, or TVs going on, or things, you're looking in one spot and you're looking, and the thing's not there that you're looking for, go away, come back, and it is there. So other than those sorts of things, I haven't been, maybe I should be careful what I wish for, but I haven't actually got anything, been in any areas.
You just told us one this morning about your daughter.
Oh yeah, because I did that one.
Or being working in a room and having doors opening. We can go on and say, okay, let's figure out why. Why is the door opening? Why is it? Is it that she's got a messy room and Spirit is saying, come on, fold your clothes and put them away? Or is it because when she's asleep you're so worried about what's going off in her room that you're constantly mentally going to visit her? And in doing that, she's sensing you there and waking up thinking, come on, Mum, let me get some sleep.
Because I was saying to her to hurry up and go, because she was mucking around 2 hours later last night when I was watching TV, and I could hear her in her room mucking around. So I'll have to talk to her today. But yeah, that's quite funny. I want to have to have a look in her room after I finish the show and see how messy it actually is, because she's very good at dumping her clothes on the ground. I'm forever telling her to pick them up and put them away.
Like every child, you know.
Yes.
So it's probably grandmother or great grandma or auntie so and so coming in saying, you know, this is a messy room. You shouldn't be here listening to radio or putting on your iPad all night. You need to get this room. Where is it? A tidy room, tidy mind. So
yes.
That if she has a tidy
she's
room,
got
she might sleep better for it.
Yeah, well, she's actually got a clean room. She just leaves some of her clothes on the floor. She's actually pretty good for a young kid. But
I'll tell you one quick one.
Yeah.
Years ago, my mum had her cleaning routine, you know, for the house and everything, and she always finished off with the bathroom because it was the hardest work. And she knew when that was done, she was finished for the night, you know, for the day. So she'd be cleaning the bathroom. And you know what it's like, the bar along the side of the bath? She's cleaned the walls, she's done the shower, she's, you know, cleaned the bath out and everything. And every time she would go, I forgot to clean the front of the bath. Oh, it can wait till next week, you know. And as she did that this time, thinking, nah, it can wait, and she turned towards the door, and there's her grandmother stood there saying, Hinny, give that bath a wash, will you? And she went, yeah, okay. No sooner turned around, put the wash bucket in the bucket, got scrubbing, till she stood there and thinking, hold on, that was my great grandma. She's been dead 30 years. I'm going to scrub this bath quickly. And she made sure she did a good job of it. Spirit saying, come on, Irene, you can't get past it this time. You've got to give that front of that bath a wash. And she did it, you know. So there's a reason for it. It's not that the bath was in any kind of bad state, because my mother never kept a house like that, you know. But it's just one of those jobs that she kept putting off, that the Spirit said, come on, pet, it's about time you did this, you know. Nothing vicious, nothing vindictive, just one of those things that she would normally have done if great grandma was there.
Yes. Well, I actually did. You just made me remember something that's a little bit different to this. One of the reasons why I think I've had a bit of a high energy week. I did my Reiki Masters, as I said. Then we've had the full moon, and actually my birthday was through the full moon. Big 50, yay! And on Tuesday, which was actually my birthday, beautiful day, and had done the morning school thing, was in the kitchen making some breakfast for myself. I put the jug on to make a cup of tea, and while I had the jug on, I just put it on. It's on the gas stop, and we have, you know, been in Australia, you have all the native birds. We get cockatoos, crows, those sorts of things. Seldom. I think I've had 2 lorikeets the whole time I've been here in our yard. And anyway, I'm in my kitchen, and the next thing I hear this enormous noise of lorikeets just going crazy in my front yard, in my trees. So I left the kitchen, went outside. As soon as I stepped outside, all the lorikeets just calmed down. And I stood there watching them just frolicking in the trees, because it was something we've never had here. And just as I started leaving to go inside, because I thought I'd better go turn the jug off, and they started chirping a little bit more again, came inside, and my jug is already turned off, ready for me to make the cup of tea. So there you go. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I love all those kettles that keep turning on and off.
But it's also the birds too. It's like that never, ever happens here. Never. And,
I get that when it's more, you know,
it was
the calm
my birthday.
before, you know, the calm before the storm. Those days when you think it's going really, really slow. Something's going to break the. It's when I always say it's going to hit the fan, because
Oh,
I
right.
know when things, and you can sense when things are not right. It's like the calm before the storm. The animals go quiet, the cows lie down. It's you can just sense there's something bad in the air that needs to be sorted. That one I get when I suddenly notice something around me is just not right.
Oh, I just thought it was amazing because I went outside. I actually ended up outside having my breakfast. But that was, that was so noisy. But like I said, when I stood out there, they just went calm. But then I resonate with birds through past loved ones as well.
Well, there you go.
So it could be my birthday wishes. But it was just because I just loved it. I just felt really lovely doing it, and I had a good week. So here's another story from our Ghosts, Paranormal, Supernatural, Myths and Legends Facebook page. This is from Christina. It's only a very short one, actually. It's very, very short, and it's called Another Mother. Another Mother is a creepy short story about a child who sees something that looks like his mother in his room one night. And this is supposedly a true story. One night when I was around 9 years old, I woke up around 3 a.m. and saw my mum standing in the doorway of my bedroom. Something wasn't quite right. Something about her was off. She looked pale, almost see-through, and she was just standing there in my doorway, just staring at the wall. "Mum?" I asked in a worried voice. She started moving towards my bed very, very slowly, and the whole time I kept asking, "Mum, Mum, Mum," but she never answered. When she finally reached the head of my bed, she reached out to me very, very slowly, and just as she was about to touch me, she suddenly vanished right before my eyes. I immediately freaked out and scrambled out of bed in a panic. I ran into my parents' room, and when I opened their door, I saw both of my parents lying in the bed, fast asleep. To this day, it still creeps me out when I remember that thing coming towards me very, very slowly. I only wonder what was it. We moved shortly after that to a different state for my dad's job. I'm glad I never got to see that again, whatever it was. Maybe it was his mother in the sleep, like me, with my daughter. Perhaps that's what it was. But yeah.
Weird. Yeah. Why would that
Yes. Just thought it just sort of fitted in quite well with me kissing my daughter in my sleep. But that was quite funny.
That reminds me of one my mum had years ago. I'm trying to remember. Yes. My mum was a medium, my grandfather was a medium, and my mum and dad, we were living in Nottingham at the time, and my dad moved around with the pits. That's why we left Durham. He went down to Nottingham with the pits, with the mines, and he was planning on looking at a possibility of another move with the pits to go to Ilkley Pit. And I'm actually trying to find the details of it now. But talk was that, he was going to move with the pits and they were going to move to Ilkley. And it was getting to about a week away from the move, and my mum woke up in the middle of the night and saw my grandfather's face in the mirror. They had a dressing table with one of those long mirrors on at the foot of the bed, and or on the wall opposite the foot of the bed. And all she got from my uncle was from my granddad, was the words, "Don't go to Ilkley. Don't go to Ilkley." Well, this mum says, right, that's it, I'm not going, I don't care if you can, I'm not going anywhere near. She'd learnt to trust her father's word when he said something was going off. Sure enough, within weeks or months, at the Ilkley Pit either closed or there was a disaster or a problem at the Ilkley Pit. And if Mum and Dad had been there, he'd have been who'd have been out of work or been involved in the issue at Ilkley Pit, and I'm trying to find out what year that was that Ilkley either closed down, because it would give me some kind of time zone as to when that was happening for Mum, you know. Yeah, that was a warning from Spirit that Mum and Dad got, and obviously they ended up not going to Ilkley.
Wow.
There you go. Yes.
Yes, I love those things where you get that sort of direction told to you through Spirit. I've had that before. I had that to move out of my first marriage. It was just like an instantaneously get out now. And it's quite interesting how that's happened a few times over my lifetime. I can't exactly remember all of them, but it's just, I know that I've just had an instant warning straight away, and I've actually listened to it, and it's been the right thing. One thing that keeps popping into my mind: light bulbs falling out of ceilings. Well, not out of ceilings as such, out of their light fixtures. I remember one time back in New Zealand, my girlfriend that I mentioned before, her and I, because we always talk about the supernatural type of stuff, and we were house sitting my mum and my stepdad's place, and we were up in one of the bedrooms just sitting there talking about spooky stuff. The next thing, light bulb came out of the ceiling, bang, right down in between the both of us. We did run quite quickly down to the next room. But it was funny, we still slept. But it's I've had that a few times. I've even had that trying to fit in the room that I'm in now, which is the room that I use for this sort of thing, trying to put a light bulb in, and this was the only light socket that this particular light bulb would not fit in, and I had to use a different light bulb for this room compared to all the other ones. For those of you who live in Australia, that's light globe. But that's happened a couple of times where the light bulbs just come out, and I'm assuming, for the fact that we're talking about spiritual stuff, that has something to do with spirit.
Well, it can be a bit of a warning, yes, when you get things like that, when there's no other physical or explanation for it.
Just pops out.
It's spirit getting your. I mean, what a hell of a way to get your attention, but it is spirit getting your attention, and especially if they've done it a few times in other ways and you're not paying attention. Like the poltergeist, it's just like, think of it in a human way, that you've got a friend who's been trying to get your a message over to you. They've been ringing you, they've been knocking on the door and all this, and you're not paying attention. Or they've told you over and over and over again that guy you've picked is a load of rubbish and stay away from him.
Yes.
And you're not paying attention. And before anything goes any further, I'm going to go and knock on that bloody door till she answers me, and I'm going to slap her in the face until she listens to me. And they will get really angst and violent at times to get a point over to you. It's exactly the same with spirit. Oi, I want a word with you. Excuse me, I want a word with you. And then they start throwing things to get your attention, and you ignore them, or you get scared and go running,
And then sorry.
Yep, it's just different ways of getting your attention.
And I think it probably was too, because the fact that we were talking about spiritual stuff on different levels, and I wasn't into my development at all. I was just sort of like, knew there was things that went on, but didn't really know much about it. So perhaps that too, and actually my friend has also, in her later life, done her side on completely different to me, but she sort of gets into all the spiritual stuff on a different level, and it's quite interesting because it was probably like, hey, you can see this stuff, and it just keep going, you need to develop it more. So perhaps that was what it was. And it's just sort of even I remember going around this house. I lived in this hexagon shaped house, boarding there once, and I remember the kids walking with me around the side of the house, and I instantly got a flash of the little boy falling down between some cracks, and at that split second, and then I turned around and he fell exactly what I saw. So I mean, I was shown all those sorts of things quite young. I mean, wasn't blessed with a family that was very. Sorry, I am being blessed with a family, but not with one that was spiritually developed within their own side. So I was sort of like walking around with that sort of thing in the dark. So it would have been nice to sort of have someone say, oh, this is what that is, and this is what that means, and sort of help me along a bit further, I suppose. It takes time. Takes time, that's for sure. But so yeah, a bit of spiritual family envy going on here today. Oops. From me to you, Julie.
Yep. It's like Witchy says in the chat room. She says it's like her. She has no idea why or what called. Well, she does because it's the vibrations. But she will just be in the middle of doing something, get up, grab a camera, go outside, take photographs, or take a photograph in the house. And she gets orbs and images on the photographs.
Yes.
It's just a sense of knowing.
She knows that they're there.
Realization that there's something else there. And as she says, it's never failed her yet. She's got some of the most amazing.
Wow.
We're going to have to get Richie on the show sometime. She's got some amazing stories and pictures of orbs and stuff that she's done, you know.
Yes, I know. We keep saying that. You can get whacked with the broom today.
Yes, she'll be telling me off now. But think of it, and it's one way I like to explain the interaction of and communication with spirit is as in life, so in spirit, and vice versa. Because if you have an event going off, put it this way, you think, right, your mate's behaving weird. What do? Do you just let them get on with it, or do you do, right, I need to know why. Let's figure out why. Do I talk to her full on, or do I go and maybe go around the houses, if you like, put the feelers out, and try and figure out what's going off, and then you come up with your own load of weird stories. And then you actually go and talk to your mate face to face and say, right, you've been behaving bloody weird, what the hell's going off? And she'll turn around and say, well, I've got this new boyfriend and I don't know what to do about it. And it's something so simple.
Yeah.
You know, it can be so simple. It can be the most complicated issue in the world that they don't know how to tell you, or they're coming and saying, well, you know, I didn't know how to tell you, but so-and-so likes you, and I've been trying to figure out a way of get. And, you know, I tried to drag you down the pub the other night. That was so you could go and meet him. And it's things like that we can so misconstrue as to others' behaviour. And yet it can be such a simple explanation. And that's how it works with spirit. Keep it sweet, keep it simple, and you'll find the truth behind it.
Yes, absolutely. I think so. And I'm going to... Excuse me. Got something stuck in my throat. I need to talk, probably.
You need to get that communication going.
Communication. We're having a sort of like, I want to read this story. I think this story keeps jumping out at me. That's why. And I'm going to give everybody on the. I'm going to put everyone in the chat room. I'm going to give you a picture to. I'm going to give you a picture. Sorry those that can't see this, but I'm going to attach a picture. And I'm not going to sleep, so that's okay. But I'm going to give you a picture, and I'm going to give you a story to go to sleep with tonight. You have some nice dreams. This is a Mexican story. Oh, me and my send button. And it's an old... what is it? It's an urban... Well, it could be an urban legend. Could be a real thing. I think it depends on who you are and where you are in this. And so there's a picture. Hopefully that's come up. Enjoy looking at that picture, girls and boys that are online there. This is on the Ghosts, the Paranormal Supernatural Myths and Legends site. It is very attractive, isn't it? Now, excuse my pronunciation, because this is a Mexico and a tale which is quite popular in Mexico and Texas. And Rulis has popped this up, if I've said the name correctly. Now, what I have popped up there, some people might need to Google this so you know what I'm talking about. I'll spell it out. It's Lechuza. Lechuza are either shape-shifting witches or spirits of Hispanic folklore. Tales of lechuza are quite popular in Mexico and Texas. Appearance is a human-sized bird with a woman's face. Now, on the picture that I put up is the woman's face, and she has a beak. Lore: the lechuza women who have sold their souls to the devil in exchange for magical powers. At night, they transform into monsters with a bird's body and a woman's face, similar to the depictions of the harpies in Greek mythologies. They then fly through the night in search of prey. When a lechuza finds her target, she will perch on the location where she can't easily be seen, and then will make either strange whistles or the sound of an infant crying. Anyone who attempts to determine where the sound is coming from is at risk of becoming lechuza's dinner. Lechuzas then will swoop down and carry off the confused and horrified individual. In some versions of the story, the lechuza is the spirit of a witch who was murdered by locals. Her spirit returns in the form of a bird monster to get revenge. In other tales, lechuza is the vengeful spirit of a woman who has returned from the grave to torment the living and to seek revenge. In modern times, most reported run-ins with the witch bird involve her swooping down at cars driving deserted roads at night. Their powers: a witch lechuza possessions supernatural powers. One of the powers of the lechuza is to summon storms. Sightings of lechuza are believed to coincide with thunderstorms. Lechuza possesses the power to shapeshift into bird monsters at night. Lechuza also possesses the ability to disguise their voices to appear as if it is the cries of an infant in order to draw its human prey closer. Finally, it is believed that hearing the cry of the lechuza is an omen that someone in the household will die, a trait more commonly found in tales of the banshee. Lechuza are immune to weapons and bullets and possibly are immortal. Defense against lechuza. Lechuza fears salt. Upon hearing the call of lechuza, one should immediately begin cussing her out. Doing so will drive her away. Don't go outside to investigate hearing a strange whistle sound or the sounds of a baby crying. I know my mother-in-law used to tell me the banshee stories, and it used to freak me out. Like the banshees, if they come to the window, don't look in their eyes, you will die.
Yeah.
And
many tales of the different.
Yeah. She used to
Ooh.
say she's seen the banshees coming to the window and things like that.
I actually watched something that shocked me the other day. Was a video of eagles attacking other animals, and you'd think, okay, rabbits, things of a small size, but these videos were showing eagles attacking and taking anything from a sheep to a mountain goat to a deer, and those mountain goats that live on the side of mountains.
Yes,
they're literally
yes.
flying at the side of the
Huge.
mountain, and they grab these mountain goats and not only bat them off the mountain side of the mountains to knock them unconscious, but fly away with them. And it never dawned on me that they would take on such huge creatures. I mean, you think the size of a deer, and I'm not talking of
huge.
fawns. I'm talking of deer. They would attack a deer in a herd and carry it off, and then drop it so that it would get hurt and knock it out and kill it, and then drag it again and drop it umpteen times until the animal is so badly hurt it can't fight against them, and then fly off to it. And you're thinking, you see people see this in times gone by, or in the dark, or in a storm, or whatever. You can see where all these fables come from and yes, they would take away creatures and babies. People out in the desert or whatever, would have babies carried away by these birds. And how would you tell them that an eagle took away your baby?
Yeah, exactly.
And it gets changed. The Chinese whisper starts, and it becomes a monster, and so yeah, you can see where these stories come from.
well, actually, it's a shame I don't have it on here, but I just flicked onto something on Facebook this morning and talking about eagles, and there's these chickens that are bigger than eagles. They're
Yeah,
massive.
I saw that one. I couldn't believe it. Now, when I came to New Zealand and somebody served me up a chicken, and I went to buy chicken, and I'm thinking these are tiny chicken legs. You know, there's barely a morsel of meat on them. In England, you get Scots. What they used to buy Scots bred chickens, and the chicken legs were massive. Now I saw that video on Facebook today of this chuck, and it's the size of a miniature horse.
Yes,
You know,
it is like a
I'm
Shetland
sorry,
pony.
but can you imagine the chicken legs on that thing? But it is massive.
I know, it's a
You
bit
know,
odd
you could
because
literally stick a kid on the back end and take it for a ride. It is so big.
it looks like at first when it comes out of the chook house, it looks like some guy in a suit, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not. And the chicken comes out afterward. The female chicken, the hen comes out, and it's huge as well. Unbelievable. So you could make a legend out of that too if you like. It'd be easy enough to do.
Yep. I'm sorry, but yeah, all these weird creatures that you get, and these, you know, everything from the little tiny horse that's no bigger than 12 inches. You know, it can't be a horse. It's only 12 inches high, so it's got to be some fantastic fable creature. You know.
It is.
But,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming to the end of the show tonight, wherever
Already?
you may be in the world. Just go over, you can find me on Janette Jade Psychic Medium. We have Julie. Julie is on SOC, Julie SOC, or SOC Radio. And we have the spiritualistonline.com, where you can join in the chat room. There's other things that you can... Julie can tell you a bit more what's on the spiritualistonline.com, but we do have our chat room on there when we're having the radio show, so you can interact with the radio shows. And we also have Circle of Mediums, which is the free Skype call if you'd like to ever join us. So thank you so much, Julie, for being online with us today. It's fantastic having you on. I love hearing your stories.
Always
have such joy. Well, I reckon it must be that England must have it's got such historical stories going on there. So, and thank you for sharing.
Anytime.
And thank you everybody out there in the radio world for online listening to us, and on the chat room. We really appreciate you all supporting us and listening in. Please, I'd love to have anybody call in, so just jump onto that Circles of Medium and join us maybe next week, next Monday, for some more spooky tales, myths and legends. Have a great week. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for listening to Tales from Ghosts, the Paranormal, Supernatural, Myths and Legends. Check out these and more at our Facebook group. See you next week for more.